former President Trump's civil fraud trial that is ongoing here in New York City. And it's an issue that's gotten a lot of attention. It's that of the value of the former president's Mar-A-Lago property, which you're looking at on the right-hand side of your screen here. Writing in this ruling, quote, from 2011 to 2021, the Palm Beach County assessor appraised the market value of Mar-a-Lago at between $18 million and $27 million. So let's bring in Hogan Gidley, former White House Deputy Press Secretary for President Trump, and Kevin Walling, a former Biden campaign surrogate. Gentlemen, great to have both of you with us this afternoon. This is relevant, Hogan, because it goes to the argument that's being made in this fraud case that the Trump team vastly overestimates the valuation on these properties and that they use that to get favorable bank and insurance company terms. Your thoughts on this and what Joe Rogan had to say?
Well, it's 100% relevant, Martha, and Joe Rogan's absolutely right. I mean, I looked up today, there are vacant lots in Palm Beach going for more than $18 million. This is a 20-acre estate. It is sprawling and has waterfront property both on the intercoastal waterway and the coastline itself, which is extremely rare, one of the only properties in the country. Not to mention the beach club or the ballroom, the croquet courts, the tennis courts. The entire thing is massive, and everyone knows this thing is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But I'm less concerned about the judge's real estate prowess and more concerned about how he's conducted himself so far in this courtroom. When he lets in cameras, that's fine. But when they approach the bench, he turns and looks at them and does a double take like he didn't know they were there, then takes off his glasses, looks at the camera and smiles, then turns back to the crowd and shrugs his shoulders and kind of chuckles as if it's some intro to a bad 1980s sitcom. That is extremely weird.
Oh my goodness,
Letitia James is sitting there as well, and the entire process is political, and that judge shows it is so.
This is Letitia James back in 2018 and 19, stating her case quite clearly. Watch this.
As the next Attorney General, I see the law as a sword and as a shield to protect those who are vulnerable, because no one is above the law, including this illegitimate president.
I'm running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president.
Kevin, your thoughts on how people should perceive all that and watch her in the courtroom as supposedly in an unbiased position?
Yeah, Martha, it's good to be with you. Listen, you know, this is a black and white fraud case, and it's a bit complicated because it involves a lot of these properties that Hogan was just talking about. But it is, you know, she's empowered by state law to prosecute, to investigate companies headquartered in D.C. or headquartered in New York, rather, that show repeated issues with fraud. And one element of that is that overestimation of worth that actually came to light from Michael Cohen's testimony before Congress just a few years ago. So I think the process should play out. I hate the fact that, you know, you have the Attorney General out there saying those words, because, again, I think that's a distraction. And, you know, it's right to sometimes jump to the conclusion that she's politically motivated in that case when you play clips like that. And the law should be separate from
Kevin,
that. You know, I'm a Democrat.
How many other real estate firms do you think she's going after in New York for similar things?
That's a good question. I don't know, Martha. I'd be interested to find out. But, you know, listen, you know, you have a family, a company, an individual, and the former president who's even barred from running a charitable organization in New York because of fraud. So I think you see a pattern like this developing with Donald Trump, you know, the bankruptcies, things like that. And you see that pattern, and that's, you know, the Attorney General of the state is empowered by state law to prosecute and investigate companies that go down that fraud route.
I don't dispute that. There's a number of cases going on. I think people just want fairness, and I think that's kind of what makes them a little unsettled when they watch some of this. Just one more quick soundbite here, and a different topic for you before I let you go, and I want to get a take from you on each of you on this. Here's Hillary Clinton speaking yesterday with Christiane Amanpour about what she thinks has to happen to Trump supporters in order to basically eradicate this element from the country. Watch this.
Sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. At some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, deprogramming of the cult members, deprogramming of the cult members.
Hogan.
Yeah, I think for many on the left, Hillary Clinton remains an icon, but for the vast majority of the country, I think she's turned into a punchline. Her level of disrespect and disdain for the American people, a majority of whom did not vote for her or support her simply because they have a difference in policy, is absolutely insane. She's doubling down on the comments she made back in 2016 in which she pointed to people who didn't like her as deplorables and a basket of deplorables, irredeemables. This is the type of elitism of people at the top of the food chain that look at everybody else who for some reason just doesn't like them and views them as lesser than they are. It is an exclamation point on the problem that we face in this country where so many people are clamoring for policies that put the American people first, whereas the elites like Hillary Clinton look down on those who would dare support anyone other than her and her radical ideologies.
Yeah, Martha, listen, I watched the whole interview. I think, we're focusing on that one word, and it's, probably not that helpful to a lot of folks out there. I give the Trump campaign and Hogan a lot of credit in 2016. One of the reasons I think we were all surprised is the former president turned out a lot of new voters, right, in disaffected, states where people were frustrated, and his populist vision resonated with those folks. Now, those folks are wholly devoted to the president. They're not the former president. They're not really, in a lot of ways, consider themselves as Republicans. So they go along with the former president's grievances. They understand, his frustrations. And I think, if you look at polling, a lot of these folks that backed the former president, did so because they don't fundamentally believe in the peaceful transition of power. Some of the liberal norms that we, little L liberal norms that we hold dear in this society. And I think that's what, the former Secretary of State was grappling with, is you have a lot of these folks that go along with the former president's
we could have a long discussion about what they believe in and whether or not they don't believe in the peaceful transition of power. I think a lot of them would take issue with that, but I do have to leave it there, you guys.
Martha.
Kevin
You
Walling,
look at the polling, Martha.
Hogan, thank you very much.
Thank you.